Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Merchant and I'm the creator of How Sweet Eats and here to tell you about my newest cookbook, Easy Every Day. I am so excited to share Easy Every Day with you. It has 100 recipes that are super easy, effortless, and they really just make mealtime more enjoyable. Every single recipe in the book uses my 10-minute meal prep strategy where there is something small in the recipe that you can make ahead of time that just gives you more time throughout the day. So whether that's making breakfast ahead of time, whether it's meal prepping a lunch ahead of time, or steps for dinner such as sauces, vinaigrettes, anything to make it easier on you. There is something in this book for everyone. There is a huge variety of meatless meals. There's meals with tons of different proteins, snacks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, desserts, drinks, even mocktails. There are things for everyone and you'll be able to find something in this book. I am so excited for it to be in your kitchen and we are gonna cook through a few of my favorite recipes today. Once we have our olives, the final vegetable we are gonna throw in are some roasted red peppers. I have so many jars of these in my pantry. They are my go-to for any sort of dish, salad, pizza, pasta, anything. And let me tell you a little hack. We're not necessarily using it in this recipe, but if you have your roasted red bell peppers in a garlic and olive oil, save this oil in the jar and you can use it in a dressing. You can replace the oil or even just use a tablespoon or two in the dressing. The flavor is incredible. Again, it just adds such a great depth of flavor. It's really good. So I already have my diced bell peppers. Now, the star of the show, because we are calling it a hummus crunch bowl, is I just have some of my favorite hummus here. We all love hummus. Now in Easy Every Day, I do have an incredible hummus dressing recipe. It's a hummus vinaigrette and it is so good. It's super creamy, again, without being heavy, but it is really delicious and gives you that hummus flavor, and it's wonderful tossed on any salad or grain bowl. This is a little different. Since we're using our smashed feta vinaigrette, I am really just going to take some of my favorite hummus, this super creamy, plain hummus, and dollop it on the salad. I love doing that. It's like a dip. You can swirl it into your salad. It makes it so delicious. And occasionally, if I don't feel like making the vinaigrette or I don't have time, I'll even just add a dollop of hummus on there and that will be my lunch. And it is so good. The first recipe that we are going to make from Easy Every Day are my hummus crunch bowls. These are extremely versatile and that is what I aim for when it comes to any recipe that I'm cooking at home or that I'm putting in a book for you. So I want this recipe to be full of vegetables, delicious, satisfying, nourishing, and it can either be a side dish or it can be your main meal. And that depends on however you want to eat. And you can make it a base for a different protein. You can add in some beans or chicken or shrimp. I want it to be versatile and you to make it your own. So we're gonna start by making the vinaigrette. I am a huge vinaigrette person. I love to have a sauce or a dressing or a homemade vinaigrette in my fridge every single week. This allows me to elevate special meals, make leftovers more exciting, have something on hand that can be used as a dressing, as a dip, as a marinade. It is my big secret when it comes to cooking and meal prepping ahead of time. This is my smashed feta vinaigrette. I love this vinaigrette. It might be my favorite one in the entire book. It uses a lot of lemon juice, some red wine vinegar. So I'm gonna start with about 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and then I'm just gonna squeeze in some fresh lemon juice. And I love how bright this makes the salad, but this also makes this dressing so incredibly refreshing and flavorful. It just tastes like a summery day and it is really enjoyable. This dressing also has a ton of fresh herbs in it. So I have my lemon juice and my red wine vinegar, and I'm gonna add in some fresh dill and some fresh chives. I'm also going to add in a big pinch of salt and pepper, and then I like to do a drizzle of honey too. That little bit of sweetness really complements the acidity from the lemon and the vinegar, and it is just a perfect combination. So once I have that all together, I'm gonna whisk it up, and then I will stream in my olive oil. Now I'm gonna add in the olive oil before the feta. So I'm gonna stream that in and whisk it up. And then we will add our crumbled feta in. Now I like to make this first, that way the flavors have some time to sit and marry together. They taste even better, and the feta almost makes it a little bit creamy. It has this, it kind of marinates the feta, I guess I should say, with the lemon and the red wine vinegar. It gives a little bit of a creamy aspect, but you still have your tart and briny vinaigrette, and that's just what I love. So we have our little vinaigrette here, and I'm gonna add this feta in. And I do whisk it again and kind of smash it up. Those smaller bits, whether you get pre-crumbled feta or you crumble it yourself, those little tiny bits will help to make it a little bit creamy, but not in a heavy way. So we have our smashed lemon vinaigrette. This is so herby. It is so fresh. It is so lemony. It smells incredible. You can eat this on anything. It's incredible on grilled chicken. It is so good on any sort of salad. We really love it. Now, either right before I make the vinaigrette or while it sits and comes together, I will make some pearl couscous. I did make a pot of pearl couscous, and this might be my favorite grain. We love it. It is so delicious. I love making any sort of grain bowl, salad using the pearl couscous. It is my family's favorite. It's just so hearty and delicious, and it makes the eating experience of a grain bowl just really enjoyable. And my kids love it. So of course, I have to go with it there. But you can use any grain for this. You can use a quinoa, you can use farro, you can even use a small cut of pasta if you'd like. There's really no wrong way. So I have my pearl couscous here, and I'm gonna spoon some into our bowl and set that aside, just so I can get this moved over, and I'm gonna chop some of our vegetables. So this is going to be my base, the pearl couscous. Again, you can use anything you want. And then when it comes to the vegetables, this is a very Mediterranean, Greek-inspired dish. So I have some fresh cucumber, I have cherry tomatoes, some red onion. These are all things that I feel like are pretty well balanced together and neutral in that most people enjoy them. But of course, you can add in whatever vegetables you have on hand, whatever you love, and you can always leave something out. Now, when it comes to cucumbers, I like to stripe mine with a vegetable peeler. I just think that it makes them so much prettier if you're chopping them in the bowl. And again, my kids like them too. So I'm gonna cut them up, and there is no wrong way here, but I like them in smaller pieces. And then I'm also gonna try to chop my tomatoes around the same size. So these are little cherry heirloom tomatoes, and I think I'm just gonna cut these ones in half. And that just makes the experience of eating it more enjoyable. Everything is kind of chopped, like if you had a chopped salad. When it comes to the red onion, I know that can be a bit polarizing. I like a little bit of raw onion in a salad because it does add a little pop, a little zing of flavor. But again, you can slice it or cut it however you want. I find that once it's been in the dressing, again, it kind of marinates, and it gets so delicious, so crunchy. So you can either do really thin strips, or you can just dice it up. In this case, I'm just gonna dice it and keep the pieces small, but that way everyone will eat it and everyone will enjoy it. So we have tomatoes, we have our cucumbers here, and then I do have some more red onion over here. The other thing that I have are some Kalamata olives, which I love. Again, I am such a tart and briny fan. Anything with olives or vinegar is right up my alley. So I chopped some Kalamata olives here that were already pitted. You can use any kind of olive in this recipe. You can leave them whole, eat them however you want, but I just love the savory depth of flavor that they add, and they're so salty and delicious. So I have here my chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, olives, and roasted red peppers. Again, you can add them whatever you want, but we already have our couscous, and I already have my dressing made. So if you take a look at this dressing, you can kind of see it's only sat for about 5 minutes, and it is a little bit creamier. I just give it a whisk. So if you make this ahead of time, or if you have leftovers and keep them in your fridge, just give it a shake or whisk it up, and it's magic. It comes together so well. So before I assemble everything, I'm actually going to take a little bit of the dressing and we're just gonna pour it on. I'm gonna add a little bit of a drizzle right onto the couscous. Now, since the couscous is technically a pasta, being the pearl couscous, it will soak some of this up. So I like to add some in and really season and flavor every layer. I find that that is the key to pretty much any recipe. You really wanna season each layer, add a lot of flavor into each layer, And then there's no need to add a ton of salt and pepper when you get to the end of a dish. So I have my couscous, I have a little bit of dressing. Now I think I'm also going to add on my scoop of hummus because I kind of want everything to pile on in there and get mixed in. So I have my hummus. We're gonna add in some of our tomatoes. We're gonna do some cucumbers. And do just a little bit of the diced red onion. Again, you can do as much or as little as you want. Then we have our olives. And finally, the roasted red peppers, which are my favorite, my family's favorite. They just add so much. So this is what our bowl looks like here. You can give it a hit a little, sprinkle of salt, but I usually just do a little bit of pepper. And then I'm going to do another drizzle of dressing. Just really light over the top because if I'm serving this, I want people to be able to add their own dressing, but I want to add enough to make it flavorful. I also don't want to add too much and make it super soggy. So we have our dressing, and then this is my favorite part. This is why it's called the crunch bowl, because we are going to crumble some pita chips on top. You don't need to crumble them, but I love texture. All of my recipes, any recipe that I am making for my kids, for my family, for myself, I am such a texture freak. I love having some of that crunch, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So adding on a crouton or a nut or a seed or something just to make it super crunchy and enjoyable. I love it. So we are going to crumble on some pita chips. So it's sort of like a pita chip crouton, if you will. And of course it's optional, but it's crunchy and delicious, so why not? And this is what our final product looks like. We have our couscous in here. We have our roasted red peppers, which are so good. It smells amazing because it's made with the lemon. The fresh herbs are so fragrant. I use chives and dill. It is so nourishing. It is super satisfying because we have this incredible vinaigrette. We have our hummus. We have the olives. And again, you can add chickpeas to this bowl if you'd like. You can add some grilled chicken. You could even add some ground beef and make it a Mediterranean beef bowl. It is just it's such a great base, but it's just so delicious as is. You can mix it all up, eat it on its own. It's just perfect. Now, the next recipe that we are going to make from Easy Everyday is my Caprese cottage cheese toast. This is incredible. It's an excellent lunch toast. I mean, you could also eat it for dinner, but it's even good for breakfast. It is really delicious. And I am fully on board the cottage cheese train. Now, I haven't been adding it to pasta or any kind of sauces yet, but I am loving it, especially when enjoyed in a savory way. I think that when I was growing up, if I had been introduced to cottage cheese in a savory way, as opposed to the classic pineapple or peaches, I think I would have loved it. So we are going to make our own savory Caprese cottage cheese toast here. And now the first thing I did was made some garlicky burst tomatoes. These are incredible, and this is one of my most versatile little recipes here in the book because these can be added to anything. These are just burst tomatoes in a skillet with some fresh garlic, a little pinch of salt, a little pinch of sugar, and then some olive oil. They are so flavorful. I even let mine go a little bit more and they got kind of charred, almost as if they're roasted, but they really only take 10 to 15 minutes. So they're super delicious and almost a little bit saucy. So this is what we're gonna use. We are going to put these on our toast and they can be used in anything. You can add those to salads. You can add them to hot pastas or cold pasta dishes. They are super versatile. I love to have them in my fridge. They are just really good. So the first thing we're gonna do is we toast our sourdough and spread on our cottage cheese. I really love to use a whole milk cottage cheese that has a larger curd. I just think it's so delicious and savory. It's very satisfying. So I'm gonna take this and spread it on the toast. I don't do a super thick layer because I wanna be able to eat it. I don't want it falling apart and I don't want it to make it too soggy. But I'm gonna do a nice even layer and spread it around. Then I'm gonna give everything a little bit of salt and pepper. Again, just flavoring it from that bottom layer to make sure that everything is seasoned so we don't feel like we're lacking flavor when we get to the end. This is very easy too. It's almost embarrassingly easy. Next, we are going to add these tomatoes right on to our toast. This, I think, almost tastes like pizza, as crazy as that sounds. My kids really love it because it's kind of reminiscent of like a margarita or a white pizza. It is super flavorful. And you wanna make sure you can get a little bit of that sauce at the bottom of the pan. It really adds some flavor. Those are pretty seasoned, and I gave them some salt and pepper in the skillet, so I don't need any more seasoning there. But I am going to drizzle on top a tiny bit of balsamic glaze and a little bit of hot honey. I know that's kind of extra, might be a little overboard, but each one adds something special. So the balsamic glaze is pretty classic. We have that often on a caprese salad. I love how tangy it is. We already know I'm a vinegar freak, so I love a drizzle of that. You can always skip it. It's not, doesn't make or break the recipe, but I really like a drizzle of the hot honey too. It pairs so well with the vinegar because it's sweet against the briny tanginess. And this one has a little bit of heat. So we have a little bit of spiciness here, but it's not an offensive spicy. My kids can even still have this little bit of hot honey, and it just adds a little pop of flavor, a little more zing. I am going to grab some fresh basil. You can tear or chop it up, and this is gonna be our final touch because again, we're doing like a classic caprese flavor with a little bit of modernization here. And I'm just doing some thinly sliced basil and drizzling it, sprinkling it on top. And this is one of those classic, incredible lunch toasts. I feel like this is something you would get at a restaurant. It is super satisfying. It's so filling. It's piled to the 9th degree, but it's not hard to eat. It's not difficult. You can cut right down the center and you can see the tomatoes don't really fall off because they're nice and saucy. They stay on there and it is just so good. Again, kind of tastes like pizza. It's satisfying, is nourishing, has a lot of protein. Just also tastes like summer, which is incredible this time of year. So this is how you make our caprese cottage cheese toast, and we have the hummus crunch bowl. Both of these are so simple. They are practically no cook recipes. The cooking portion only takes about 10 or 15 minutes. They are filled with nourishing, fresh ingredients, very crowd pleasing and delicious. I love these recipes. I am so excited for you guys to learn more about Easy Everyday. I would love to hear below if you have any cooking predicaments or what is your biggest challenge in the kitchen. I would love to hear where you're tuning in from too, and we can chat down below. Easy Everyday is probably my best cookbook yet. It is so filled with tips and tricks of meal prep, stress-free cooking, how I get meals on the table because I'm in a stressful time of life right now with little kids, and this is my cooking Bible. This book is basically my go-to when it comes to planning meals. There are so many incredible make-ahead breakfasts, make-ahead lunches, ways to get meals on the table effortlessly and easily, but ones that are really special and that you'll find that you'd want to make over and over again. There is a chapter at the beginning of the book called the Sauces and Dressings chapter, and it is basically my fridge essentials. It is filled with all the tiny things that I can prepare ahead of time that really make meals extra special. These are things like my vinaigrettes, like the smashed feta vinaigrette we used today. It has my favorite pesto. It has quick pickled onions, pickled sweet peppers, things that take a few minutes of time, but you can store them in your fridge for 3 to 5 days, and then they really add a pop to a meal, and they elevate it as well and just make it extra special. The other key is using those ingredients and that sauces and dressings chapter to make leftovers come together and feel different. They feel unique. It doesn't feel like you're eating the same meal that you ate yesterday. It's a way to switch things up and make things more exciting and enjoyable. I cannot wait to hear about your favorite recipe from Easy Everyday. I can't wait to see what you're cooking, and thank you so much for tuning in.